Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Who the Hell Asked. I'm your host, Byron and Slade, and this week was poppin' in news. And let's start with one of our favorite games, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It got DLC. And Slade, who do we have
All
in
right,
this
so
pack?
we have Ginny from My Teenage Life as a
My life is a
robot, or is it
teenage
My Life
robot.
as a Teenage Robot? God damn it! Obviously, in the ballot leading up to the base game, she was probably the most popularly requested character. So this comes as no surprise. I also think she's the first Frederator Studios character to be included in the game, from my
yeah,
understanding.
yeah,
So.
I believe so. But we have the man, the myth, the legend, Hugh Neutron, who will be available this summer.
That is correct. And then Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life will be coming to the game in the fall.
Yes.
So if
So,
you watched our speculation video, these were all three characters that Byron and I thought were pretty incredibly likely.
yeah. So, again, we are on the hottest streak in all of gaming, the most underrated insiders on all of gaming YouTube, right here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so this will be available. You can buy the packs. The pack right now, it is I believe, called the Universe Pack for $11.99 for 3 characters, possibly stages. We don't know if they come with stages, but
It didn't look like
yeah,
it, but yeah.
but for $11.99 for 3 characters and you don't even get stages. I feel like that's worse value than even the first fighter pass.
Well, yeah, and when you think about the fighter passes, and the first fighter pass only having 5 characters, um, they all came with their stages, but they also came with like lots of music
Yeah.
and like iconic stuff. So
Viacom and Game Mill don't want to give Luminosity the budget.
yeah, I get the idea that Ludosity doesn't have the budget that Sakurai does
Yeah.
for Smash Brothers.
Yeah, or even the budget of like Multiverses, one of our other favorite games to cover on this show.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out for Multiverses. I know they had that pros versus devs video out
Yeah.
the other day.
Yeah, which
But
showed off gameplay, but oh yeah, speaking of games that people are playing, hold on. Not a lot of people are playing this. Not a lot of people are playing Nick All-Star Brawl. It's not as low as it usually is, but it's not much higher. It is currently at a peak. It is currently at 70 players as of 20 minutes or 10 minutes ago. Excuse me. And it's like one day after the DLC came out. The DLC effect is real. Its peak was 300, and then people were just like, "Oh, okay, I see why we didn't play this game. We're out of here."
yeah, and so it kind of piqued their interest a little bit, and they kind of dipped back out. But those are just the Steam numbers. Those aren't also numbers for people
I
on
feel like though
console and
this is
stuff like
probably
that.
at least a little bit indicative of what the numbers are like on, let's say, Switch or PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it's a super active game. I think people have already kind of figured out this game and then moved on from it. I think it desperately needed voice acting on release on top of like other things.
Yeah, like,
But
like maybe some more casual things?
yeah.
I don't know. A little more of that flourish, but yeah, and guess what? It's not coming in the patch notes either.
Yeah, so that's as fortunate as that is. Let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, let's move on to
More unfortunate news.
let's move on to this story. Let's move
Yes.
on to FIFA.
Oh, I thought okay. So
Yeah.
FIFA and EA, this is actually great news.
Yeah.
I want to reel that last comment back. So EA will no longer be developing the FIFA games. The partnership between EA and FIFA will be coming to an end this year.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, So EA will stop making the FIFA games. Instead, the California company said Tuesday that EA Sports FC, which will be the new name for the soccer games, will be introduced next year. So the final game under the EA FIFA banner will be this year. Licensing rights for the game earn FIFA about 150 million annually, which is fucking insane.
Doesn't surprise me. Probably the
But yeah,
most
so
renowned sports title
FIFA
software.
promised a quote number of new non-simulation games that are already under production, and it'll create a new gaming model. And cited the recent launch of its streaming service, FIFA Plus, which I didn't even fucking know that FIFA has a streaming service. Makes sense, I guess. Fucking everybody else is a streaming service. Even Xbox has one. I think EA may have one, but yeah. So what does EA lose with this? They lose the FIFA branding. They lose the World Cup branding. That's all they really lose. So it's not nothing much is gonna change, but
Just the branding of the games are going to be different because they don't want FIFA to be associated with just the video game branding. They want it to be associated with the sport overall as a whole, which makes sense.
yeah, which is cool. Yeah, not much is gonna change on that front. And speaking of things changing on some fronts, we have Starfield.
This is what I said was going to be unfortunate news,
Yeah.
and then Byron kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah,
So,
apologies for that.
Bethesda has announced that they are going to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like the year where everything gets delayed. We're probably going to hear about a God of War Ragnarok delay pretty soon. But obviously, this probably just means that, they're a little bit backed up from like the pandemic plus other stuff in terms of game development. That might be that they're also dodging the likes of Elden Ring for Game of the Year discussion. Like, I don't think that they're obviously doing that. But like,
yeah, but
could be a point of contention there.
Ball sucks. Starfield, I genuinely thought it was making it this year. I genuinely thought it was making its release date this year. I think it was 11/11/22, which, yeah, a very funny, fun little date. But I genuinely thought they were going to make it, but it seems like they didn't. At this point, Microsoft has, I think, literally only one thing confirmed for 2022 as of right now, and that's Cuphead DLC.
Yeah, which is not good.
What's going on? Maybe I saw this announcement, and of course, like all the other things that have happened at Microsoft, of course, the Halo shit show, if you haven't followed it, we haven't covered it, but like, man, that's a situation over there with Halo Infinite. But it's like, maybe the Microsoft hands-off approach is going off the rails.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it's going very well for them and their partnered studios. So,
and considering, like, we talked about this like maybe a month or two ago, the Activision Blizzard bring in, potentially, that could make things an even bigger mess. And it's like thinking, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen to Microsoft over there? Too many cooks in the kitchen?
After these, like, for the acquisitions and whatnot, I always thought it was going to take 2 or 3 years before they really started popping out these IPs left and right.
Yeah.
We're at that 2 or 3 year point for some of these companies.
Yeah.
And still nothing. So.
Well, nothing potentially yet. Because we do have, in about a month's time, we do have the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase.
Yes.
So that is
true. That's coming up here in June. But
yep.
Like you said, only one announced new Microsoft title this year. It's Cuphead DLC.
Yeah, which had been delayed previously.
Yeah, that's
but yeah,
kind of scary to think about.
Starfield, I do feel like we will at least still see Starfield at the Xbox Bethesda game showcase. I would be shocked if we didn't at this point. Even with without the delay, we were going to see Starfield at the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase because you remember that space background for the like showcase logo. It was like, yeah, okay, this is Starfield. Because what other Microsoft game is about space that's not out yet? Right?
Right.
Ah,
Okay. Moving right along to the meat and potatoes of our, section here. We finally have the quarterly information for Nintendo and their sales information. So
hell
let's dip
yeah.
into that, starting on the console side. So the Switch has surpassed 107.65 million units sold,
Yes.
which I believe puts it right behind the PS2, if I'm not mistaken.
It is right behind the PS4 at
Four. Sorry.
116.9 million units, and the next would be the Game Boy conglomerate family of the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color at
Yeah.
118.69. A lot of 6.9s for console sales. Nice.
Yeah, so obviously, I think we're just a year out, possibly more, from the Switch surpassing both the Game Boy as well as the PlayStation. I thought, or 4.
Yeah, PlayStation 4. I don't think it passes the PS2. Honest to God. It might
Well,
get
that's
close.
if Nintendo makes plans to release a new console after that, or maybe even like an upgraded version, like a Nintendo Super Switch or something.
The Super
We still don't know yet. I don't think because Nintendo tries to innovate between console to console, right? I
Sometimes.
don't think the Switch needs innovation. I just think it needs hardware improvement.
Yes. Yep. So let's take a look, Slade, at the top 10. The top 10 best-selling game. And spoilers, not much has changed at least in
Yeah,
the top
there's
10.
one game that's on there that wasn't on there before, but that's it.
Yeah. So Ring Fit Adventure 14.09 million units. Pokemon Let's Go Game 14.53. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl 14.56 million. Super Mario Party 17.78, which is still nuts to me.
Especially now Superstars is on the platform.
It's still nuts that that game even sold that much.
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey 23.50 million. Sword and Shield 24.27 million. Breath of the Wild 26.55 million. Smash Ultimate 28.7 million. Animal Crossing New Horizons 38.64, and of course the king, the reigning champion, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe of 45.33 million.
And this is why we don't get new Mario Kart games, people. They're just continuing to sell buku fucking bucks of copies and shit like that.
Yep.
All right. So that's our top 5, but now you might be asking, okay, well, what about the individual games that just came out over the past few quarters? How many did those games sell, and what do we think?
So,
Okay. So let's go ahead and cover some of those numbers right now. Let's talk about it on the millions sold
yep.
for Switch selling titles.
Yep.
So, like Byron stated, we saw that Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl sold 14.65 million units.
Yep.
In that same time frame, and this game that came out a bit later, Pokemon Legends Arceus sold 12.64 million units, which is
impressive.
Absolutely insane considering it's a Pokemon spinoff of those historically have not done very well compared to the main series.
Yeah, that's really impressive because I believe we covered actually I think it was the last time we had sales numbers that Pokemon Legends Arceus I think sold something like 6 million units in the first week, which was absolutely bananas.
Yeah, which surpasses that of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Considering those are holiday titles.
Yeah.
And Legends Arceus is keeping pace with those two games is already very, very impressive. And I imagine a lot of positive word of mouth had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, and a lot of like streamers streaming the game because I know like for a time it was like one of the top streamed games on Twitch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So
fucking Mario
definitely
Kart 8.
Very great news for Pokemon Legends Arceus. Also, Mario Kart 8 selling 9.94 million titles throughout the fiscal year. Again, that comes to a surprise as nobody.
Yep, DLC. Current 2.1 million units in 2 weeks.
That is correct.
That's
which
good.
is very impressive, very good for the Kirby series. I think their best-selling Kirby games around 4 to 5 million units sold.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it'll definitely get close to being like a top Kirby game for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find the page, but Metroid Dread selling 2.9 million units.
Yep, 2.9 million. It got fucking close. It got so close to 3.
There's still plenty of time for that to surpass that 3 million unit threshold that I think only Super Metroid has ever sold. So Metroid Dread has been a fantastic success for the series.
Yep, we also have sales numbers for Mario Party Superstars for the fiscal year. 6.88 million units.
Which, pretty good for the most part. Not quite on par with Super Mario Party.
That just popped off insane, but it's still like one of the top selling games in the Mario Party series.
Oh yeah.
What's
crazy is when you look at Mario Party Superstars compared to Super Mario Party, Super Mario Party is still selling.
Yeah, it sold almost 3 million units in the fiscal year, which is fucking bananas. Nobody should be buying Super Mario Party now that Mario Party Superstars exists. IMO. Unless you're like a collector.
I'm with you. I think it's just kind of crazy that Super Mario Party still continues to sell incredibly well.
Yeah.
Some other stuff. Obviously, we talked about the Pokemon titles already.
Yeah.
You're still seeing about 3 million units sold in Breath of the Wild, and then Super Mario World, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
That's still doing pretty well.
Yeah.
New Pokemon Snap, 2.4 million. About expected, I guess, for typical Pokemon spinoff. Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain, 1.59 million. WarioWare Get It Together, 1.27 million. And of course, another one of our favorite games that we cover that popped off for no reason, Game Builder Garage. Barely sold over 1 million. Barely.
Barely got past that million mark, but interesting stuff. Nintendo seems to be doing pretty well.
So there are some interesting numbers I would like to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Switch, obviously Slade mentioned it earlier, the OLED didn't sell like as well. It sold 5.8 million units in the fiscal year, which is more than the Switch Lite sold in the fiscal year, which is not surprising considering.
Yeah, but obviously still not to where Nintendo would like to see the sales for their quote-unquote mid-console upgrade.
Yeah, but hardware in general is down 20%, with the Switch itself down 33.3%, and the Switch Lite being down 56.5%. But however, software sales are up 1.8%. Tells me we're at that impasse where nearly everybody who has a Switch, who wants a Switch, has a Switch already.
That is right. So at this point, most of their money is going to be from the software itself. But to be fair, that's most companies in general, I feel. Because I know that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are selling at a loss per console. So those consoles are relying pretty heavily on software titles themselves.
But the Switch has been out for a while. And as always, and when these numbers came out, people were like, okay, next console when? Next fucking console when?
I still think we're a year or two out, only because of the chip shortage situation and whatnot.
Yeah.
I imagine that's going to resolve itself by the end of 2025.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll get the next console announcement before then.
Yeah.
But only when Nintendo has a plan for producing stuff moving forward, because I don't think they have an issue with because most consoles have shortages out when they first come out and whatnot, like the demand.
Yeah, even the Switch had that was a big gaming news story in March of 2017. Like, oh yeah, good luck finding the Switch. It's the hot new item.
and yet nobody can get a hold of one. It's going to be the same thing for the next platform, whether it's an upgraded Switch or not.
Yep. Digital sales are up 4.5%, which is
that number is going to keep climbing.
Yeah. And then we have an interesting slide right here. Previously announced titles. So this is what we know from Nintendo's lineup right now. Switch Sports, it's been out. We will get sales numbers for that probably the next time we cover Nintendo sales numbers. Same thing with Mario Strikers Battle League, a game we did cover last week, whose English trailer finally came out, and no new details from it. Just it's in English now.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Warriors. I know a game Slade's really looking forward.
Oh my god, I'm so disappointed.
Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, Xenoblade 3, Splatoon 3, both of those we talked about, and then of course Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, late 2022. Obviously, it's going to be that November release date, and then Bayonetta 3.
So Bayonetta 3 apparently still has plans to release this year. We haven't seen an announcement to the contrary yet.
Yeah, we're probably going to hear about Bayo 3 again at the next Nintendo Direct, whenever that is, since we are now in
It's going to be this summer. We don't know whether or not it's going to be a usual June, like 10th to June 20-something slot that like it usually is. But
yeah, or if it'll be like in July, or like maybe they just say
like
fuck
that,
the summer and go September or something.
Yeah, so this slide, I think the only thing that's like super important that this slide tells us is, yes, Bayo 3 is still planned for this year.
Yep.
I said, good lineup coming up. You got Xenoblade 3, Splatoon 3, the Pokemon games, and Bayo 3.
Yep.
So, they're going to wrap up the year pretty strong. We have some really good software coming out.
Yep, and then of course...
Next year is going to be great as well.
Yep, and then God, we thought this year was going to be the year of Game of the Years. Next year, brother. Next year.
Yeah, now that Starfield's also been pushed into the next year pool, I'm just waiting on God of War Ragnarok to get delayed to the next year as well.
It could, but like we'll see. But
That's
obviously Breath of the Wild 2, as we just mentioned. Metroid Prime 4.
That's Metroid Prime 4 is more than a year out. I know that the delay now, so it came like, what, 3 years ago at this point?
I think, 3 or 4 at this point.
Yeah, I feel like that game's still in development now. I'm not going to lie to you.
There are some people, I'm going to make us all feel old. Some people started high school when that announcement happened, and who are probably graduating.
I was about to say, you're pulling a Sakurai on us where it talks about, the distance between the first trailer for Smash 4 all the way to fucking Sora's release, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. And then of course Advance Wars, but that's gonna be whenever at this point. But
yeah, Advance Wars is already a 100% completed, ready to sell game. It's just a matter
it's just when.
Yeah.
It's just like when. But yeah, that's but that's the Nintendo sales numbers. What do you think, Slade?
Yeah, honestly, it does look like Nintendo's going to start thinking about their next console. Personally, like I said, I'm still a year out from any announcement.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah. At least a year, if not 2.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe that's why we're seeing things like Breath of the Wild 2 delayed and whatnot, because maybe it's going to be another situation with literally every Zelda game where they release like on multiple consoles at the same time.
Oh god, yeah, like hilariously enough, Breath of the Wild 1.
Yeah, and Twilight Princess, and yeah.
My biggest takeaway though, goddamn Legends Arceus. Goddamn Legends Arceus.
Yeah, Legends Arceus is going to crack that top 10 before long. I don't think comes as a surprise to anybody.
Bold predict. Well, not bold. Next time we see Nintendo sales numbers, Legends Arceus knocks Ring Fit Adventure off of number 10.
Yes. And then that's not even going into the fact that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are going to come out.
Well, not by the time we get the next sales numbers.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is half the top 10, which is all said and done, is going to all be Pokemon titles.
Yeah, it's going to be purely dominated by
Pokemon. Yeah.
We have one last story for you, courtesy of VGC, who got Video Game Chronicle, who got to interview Mr. Jeff Keighley for more details about the Summer Game Fest. And that basically, it's going to be like a 4-day thing, basically.
So the event is set, the core of the event, I should say, is set to run from June 9th to June 12th.
Yeah, which includes obviously the Summer Game Fest live showcase, and it will end with the Xbox Bethesda Game Showcase. But there was a very interesting quote that I would like that I will read real quick. That Jeff Keighley mentioned. I know there's a prevailing sentiment that everyone likes everything kind of packed into 2 days or 3 days or something like that. But that's really hard to do because companies want to own specific days. So I don't know if we're ever going to go back to that old model of everything being sort of compacted into just a couple of days.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit because I think he's absolutely right. I think companies want to own their days. They want people to be talking about them on a specific days. I think this works for large companies and publishers like your Nintendos, Sonys, Microsoft, even for Square Enix, as well as like maybe even Ubisoft and like other like large scale publishers.
Yeah.
But this doesn't work for, smaller publishers or like
the indie
your second tier, like your THQ Nordics and your stuff like that.
Well, funnily enough, THQ Nordic are having their own presentation, funnily enough.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is I feel like the reason why people like seeing it all compacted at once is because, one, people's attention spans are relatively short for the most part. So, like, you're getting all that, information given to you on a day, and then you can kind of just make the decision from there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch over like a 2 or 3 month period and keep their like eyes on the entirety of that period to find whatever information they're trying to find.
Well, maybe me and like everybody that covers gaming news because it's a bit easier on them.
Well, yeah, people, but we're such a minority of people.
Yeah, we are a minority. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is I think for the smaller companies and publishers in particular, it's more important to have these events like compacted than it is for, the larger studios, because it gives them a platform that gets eyes on them that they wouldn't normally have. And I feel like, Summer Games Fest does a great job of like
doing
attracting people to watching it. I don't think it does a good enough job outside of more condensed. It's like I said, they're going to condense a lot into those 4 days.
Yep,
but then they're going to spread out everything else throughout like a month and a half.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work out very well.
Yeah. So Keighley also made a couple more points. Keighley also said fewer companies are planning standalone events this year, with many instead expected to take part in first-party presentations. That's a bit interesting, if true.
Yeah, well, I think this is, like he's saying, he's going on the idea that we're going to see more Nintendo Direct like events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like how Microsoft and Sony are already replicating. So,
yeah.
Makes sense. Like I said, it seems like most of the companies, not all of them, are going to hit those first 4 days between June 9th to June 12th.
Yeah, which will fucking be a busy time for us here at Who the Hell Asked.
Oh, yeah.
And the last thing Keighley said was, with many big publishers leaning more heavily into live service game these days, Keighley suggests there may be fewer blockbuster announcements than might have been the case in previous years. Quote, "It's not just how companies are set up today," he said. "I mean, there are more live service games. I look at the landscape now, and the most exciting stuff for me is coming from a lot of these independent studios or venture-backed companies versus the big traditional publishers," which I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah, I'm going to agree as well.
Yeah,
I think... go ahead.
I'm going to shout out a quick game I've been fucking hooked on that's an indie game, Cursed to Golf. Shout-outs to that game real quick. But
shout out to the Nindies presentation that we've decided not to talk about.
Yeah, because
there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, but yeah, like there are some great things going on in indie studios. Of course, some of these venture-backed companies. There are some good things going on with the big traditional publishers, but not as often. Not as often, I would say.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
But yeah, so that's
all
the
right.
So yeah, that's the info we have on Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, we're gonna disappear like Silk Song has disappeared from the faces of the entire holiday community.
Yeah.
So this has been Slade.
And this has been Byron. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.